doing manual sourcing for Amazon Arbitrage versus Amazon Dropshipping, there are major differences in what is needed, and I'm going to touch on that in this video. In future videos or in other videos that may be linked to this video, I'm going to show you how I actually do manual sourcing with the spreadsheet I made that will actually search the products and find these same products on Amazon. So that will be linked in the video if you want to actually see how I do that process. However, right now in this video, the first thing I want to do is for you to understand the advantage and the disadvantages of manual sourcing for arbitrage versus dropshipping. Now, there are two main parts where this is concerned. One is suppliers, and two is the Amazon data. So let's talk about suppliers first. Now, arbitrage, when it comes to suppliers, Amazon Arbitrage has a huge advantage over dropshipping. And that advantage is that almost any supplier can be used for sourcing since you are buying the products up front. So when you're doing arbitrage, for instance, if you go on a site like Rakuten, you can basically use pretty much any of the 3,000 plus suppliers that are available or that are listed on this Rakuten site. So you can just really hunt down some big cashback discounts, and you can pretty much use any supplier. And by the way, I actually provide a list, a huge list of all the Rakuten suppliers, their brands and suppliers, as well as some other lists as well that you can get. If you check the description of this video, you can actually access all of these different suppliers and brands lists that I actually pulled from Rakuten into a spreadsheet. So now getting back to suppliers, now let's talk about dropshipping suppliers. Now the disadvantage for suppliers when it comes to dropshipping is that only certain suppliers are suitable to meet the order and return requirements in the Amazon dropshipping model. In other words, you are buying products, you're listing products first, and then you are buying them from the supplier and shipping them straight to the customer. So if these suppliers, if you choose a supplier here and that supplier turns out to take a very long time to ship the product, doesn't easily provide returns, then you're going to have an issue as you try to provide customer service and provide, proper shipping time and service to your customers on Amazon. And Amazon is very strict about that. Even though you're doing the FBM model, actually, because you're doing the FBM model, it is completely up to you. Fulfilled by merchant, you are the merchant, it's completely up to you to get those orders to the customer on time. So that is the disadvantage in dropshipping sourcing, which is that, again, we cannot just use any supplier. Okay, we have to really make sure they have the right kinds of shipping and return policies. Now, that's the suppliers area. Now, the other area is the Amazon data. Okay, this is the other thing, a huge component that you might not really think about as you embark on manual sourcing, which is that with Amazon Arbitrage, if you're using FBA, now you might be shipping your arbitrage items directly to the customer, and if that's the case, then this doesn't actually apply. But if you're doing Amazon FBA arbitrage, then you need to know the FBA fees, and you also need to know, either way, it's good to know the restrictions that might be placed on you for that particular brand, but mainly the FBA fees to help you get a more exact profit calculation on the products. And so typically you need software to get these pieces of data more quickly. However, with the FBA fees, you can kind of use a general fee based on the size of the products, and you can kind of use that to kind of get your estimated profit. Also, you can depend on Seller Central itself to get some of those FBA fees. However, if you need software, and you typically do, to check things like possible restrictions or IP risk, then I have two software where I have discounts that I've worked out with those two software, and those will help you out a lot, especially with the IP risk, intellectual property. And so you can check this description of this video as I have steep discounts on both of those. Now, that is a disadvantage for arbitrage, needing a bit more data on the back end. However, for dropshipping, this is actually an advantage because with drop shipping, you absolutely don't need the FBA fee because you're shipping the items directly to the customer. And then the restrictions are still important, but it's not quite as critical, because when you get hit, if you get hit with a certain kind of complaint or something, if you haven't bought the product yet, it's just a matter of taking down the listing, right? But when you're doing arbitrage, you've already bought the product. A lot of times, if you're doing FBA and you've already sent the product into the warehouse, well, now you've got products in the warehouse that are, could be getting you into trouble. You now have to get rid of that inventory somehow. It's more of an issue, right, when you actually have the inventory at Amazon. So just something to consider. So I'm going to say, if you're doing FBA especially, you definitely want to invest in restrictions, software that's going to help detect things like IP complaint risk, and give you restrictions on different products. So those are the advantages and disadvantages that I see for suppliers and Amazon data for arbitrage and drop shipping. And so now, for further instruction on how I'm actually using automated spreadsheets to actually speed up the manual source and process, you can see again the description of this video, and I should have a link to other videos demonstrating that process. You also see various videos where I've done this sort of thing around my channel as well. So everything's in the description, and you can also contact me if you want more information or advice on the process. I'm Mr. Mark, and I'll see you around in another video.